Hello, this is Bradley Thayer for CIS 163 Java 1. We're looking at week 10 in this lesson. The subject matter is inheritance and method overriding. I'm going to quickly go to IntelliJ, and what I've done is I set up a few classes here. The first one I've set up is an automobile class. An automobile is intended to be more of an abstract or generic construct here. We talk about driving an automobile, but if I tell you I drive an automobile, it doesn't tell you much about it. There's certain things you can guess or assume that are true, like it has tires. It has some sort of number of cylinders, provided it's not a rotary motor or an electric car. But in general, for the vast number of cars on the road, there's some amount of cylinders and there's a type of fuel. It doesn't tell you much like about the type of car though, like a sedan or a motorcycle or a truck. But there are some, these attributes and perhaps several others are common amongst even the sedan, the motorcycle, and the truck. So what we can do with our objects is we can create objects that derive or inherit the properties that add these attributes right here, like number of tires, and methods like the print stats. Right. We can inherit those like I do here in my sedan class. So the syntax for that, public class sedan extends automobile. So think about it in just the English language that we've written this in, not the Java, but the English language here. Whatever automobile is, we're extending it further into our sedan. So my sedan has a number of tires, a number of cylinders, a type of fuel, in addition to cubic feet of trunk space. My automobile has a constructor right here. My sedan has a constructor. But as part of that sedan constructor, the syntax super, followed by number of tires, number of cylinders, and type of fuel, this calls the automobile constructor, and then I complete my attributes by calling this dot cubic feet trunk space equals cubic feet trunk space. Similarly, for motorcycle, I do the same thing, the automobile constructor, but this time I have a type. Now I'm thinking here like an off-road, a dirt bike, a cruiser, those different types of motorcycles. That's what I put here. Perhaps I could have named it something better, but in this case I just called it a type. So it's a type of motorcycle. And truck. So payload's very important when you're talking about pickup trucks. So in this case, I added pickup trucks in. I have my automobile constructor, and then I add on to it this attribute, payload in pounds. Now the method overriding. So here you notice in my automobile class I have a print stats. And basically what I'm doing is I'm printing out to the screen just what those attributes are. Number of tires, cylinders, and the fuel used, like diesel or gasoline, perhaps some other alternate fuels. And then sedan, I'm printing the cubic feet trunk space under my print stats. They're labeled the same, print stats and print stats. But here, I have the option of overriding it. So as it's written right now, it's not going to print the automobile print stats. But if I put in super.printstats, it's going to print here the automobile print stats and then add on functionality right here. Similarly with the motorcycle, I don't that overrides the automobile print stats, adds it back in, and truck. So print stats from automobile and then the payload. So just to show how it all works, I printed out this garage class where I create a truck, a sedan, and a motorcycle. And then I call, for each of these three objects, I call a print stats. You'll notice my truck, I'm assuming it's like a dually, a full-size pickup truck with a dually, runs off diesel. So it has 6 tires, 2 in front, 4 in the rear, 8-cylinder diesel, something like a Ford Super Duty perhaps, or a Chevrolet, I guess they're called 2500s there. So a sedan, okay, cubic feet of trunk space, number of tires 4, number of cylinders 4, gasoline, thinking like a Camry or an Accord. And lastly, a motorcycle, a cruiser, number of tires 2, number of cylinders 2. So here I'm thinking like a Harley Davidson, something along those lines. When I run this and I print everything out, you'll notice here what was printed. Well, in each case, in each case I left in these super print stats, you get the print stats from automobile in all 3 cases. And then what I've added in for the sedan, motorcycle, and I guess in this case, in this example, I did truck, sedan, and then motorcycle. So that's a very generic introduction to inheritance and method overriding. The lesson in the syllabus mentions method overloading, which I'm not entirely sure if that was a mistake to get put on the syllabus or not, but I'll go ahead and I'll mention what method overloading is. I can do it here with this constructor. I can create a separate constructor. And let's say, for instance, I have an electric car. So an electric car like a Tesla or a Chevrolet Bolt or something along those lines, they have a number of tires, but they don't have a number of cylinders. An electric motor doesn't have any cylinders. So I can leave that off. All right. And so I'm going to go to my garage and I want to make another sedan. And I'm going to call it electric sedan. And the overloading means I have a constructor here, but I'm going to pass in different values. So it's the same method signature, well, at least, it's the same method name, but the values I pass in are going to be different. And the values I pass in are going to determine which constructor I call. So you see how right now IntelliJ says, hey, you're not calling your automobile, your second automobile constructor. Never used. Okay, so if I go back here and I say number of tires 4, and then type number of tires 4, and then type of fuel, I'm going to say electric. Sorry, I have to go to sedan and do something there too. I need to put another constructor here. So I'm going to say int, this was cubic feet trunk space int number of tires string fuel or type of fuel. So here's where I'm going to call I'm going to see right now I'm not using it. I'm going to say super number of tires and type of fuel. Yep, there it is. Now you see how it's highlighted. Okay. So it dictated which one of my constructors I used by the type of data I passed in. Okay. So back here to my garage, I can fix this now. So my sedan needs for this sedan, see it's not used, cubic feet of trunk space, number of tires, type of fuel. So if I come in here and I say, I don't know, let's just say 20. Okay. Now when I print these, what happens to, I never gave it a number of cylinders. So my number of cylinders when this prints here for my electric car is defaulted to 0. Right. Maybe not the best way. It works here for this simple example. If it was really an example, we might want to do something slightly different for this. Okay, but just so you know, if it was electric, we didn't print cylinders at all. Point being is here you see, right, that I was able to have 2 constructors with the same name, and the reason Java allowed this was because I had a different number of arguments passed in. So that's overloading. What I'm describing here is overloading. What I'm looking at right here is overriding. Okay. And this concept of extending a class is called inheritance. Okay. So if you have any questions about this or your weekly lab assignment, feel free to contact me. Thank you.